welcome to the ESG podcast. What's ESG, you might ask? I'll tell you. That's E for entertainment, S for sports, and G for gaming. I'm Tomas Lopez, gamertag Tilo313. A little about myself. I definitely enjoy playing video games. Obviously, that's why I'm part of this podcast. Just love playing video games, entertainment, sports, anything in general. My panel with me, we'll turn it over to Adrian Robinson. Adrian, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
What's going on, people? How you doing? Like I said, my name is Adrian, gamer tag on Xbox Live, Mr. Showtime, the MVP. That's DA MVP. So add me, get spanked, whatever you want to play. It's all up to you guys. A little bit about myself. Well, obviously, like you said, also a big gamer, sports head. Love the NBA. Go LeBron. I'm waiting for the reaction from these two. Well, yeah. That's definitely going to be a hot topipic here on this show.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to that.
Sports, comic books as well. Anything comic related, go Batman. I'll turn it over to third part of the podcast, Chris Jordan. Tell me a little about yourself, man.
Like you said, my name is Chris Jordan. Go by Cable 2KX on the PlayStation 3 and soon PlayStation 4, the dominant system of next gen. Just going to get that out there now. A little bit myself. I'm a gamer, into all the shooters, anything Naughty Dog. I'm in love with Call of Duty. I'm a gamer on that. Battlefield, all that kind of stuff. Into NBA, NFL, Titans, Pacers. I'm going to Titans and the Pacers. I'm saying Paul George should have been on the cover of NBA 2K14. I'm just putting that out there.
Are you kidding me?
All right.
We'll add that to our list. Should have been out on the cover.
We'll throw that on our list. And obviously, and since it seems like we all love video games, let's start our topic off with what quite possibly the biggest video game out there right now, yes, and maybe out there in the last 10 years. That's Grand Theft Auto 5. I mean, I'm kind of blown away just from playing it the first few days, and online hasn't even opened up yet. I don't know about you guys, but this game just seems it has everything.
Yeah, definitely, man. I've said this like multiple times, man, but I kind of, in this situation, this is probably the best video game I've ever played, man. Like, it's a full living, breathing world. And you remember, I don't know if what was it, 6 years ago when Grand Theft Auto 4 came out, and we were sitting around, and like at that time, IGN had just popped us with the 10 of 10, perfect game, masterpiece,
oh, yeah,
and we loved it. Everybody loved that game. Rockstar really went back to the drawing board and upped the ante with Grand Theft Auto 5. And you get the naysayers say, hey, it's the same game. It's just what else can you do that you haven't done in Grand Theft Auto 4? Well, nothing. You can do more than what you can do in Grand Theft Auto 4.
I almost call it Sims on steroids.
Definitely.
I mean, because it really, for anyone who doesn't play video games, and I think people know the Sims game at least out there because it's this virtual world. People kind of disappear. It's like World of Warcraft, but let's tone down. Grand Theft Auto, I mean, you can pretty much do anything on this game. And I know it's got an M rating for mature, and not little kids are supposed to play it, but you can't convince me there's not kids out there playing it when you're selling over $1 billion in sales the first 3 days.
Yeah, that's nuts.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm still towards the beginning of it. I haven't opened it up all the way like I wanted to with all work going on, and it's just I watched a video on YouTube, I think it was IGN's video, where they did a complete walkthrough from one end of the map to the other.
It was awesome.
And it was just crazy how they weren't even trying to get into trouble or start mischief. Right off the bat, they end up running into a guy that was kidnapping some woman, and they end up saving her, and she followed them for about maybe a good 2 or 3 minutes before she got hit by a train.
The random events, man. The randomness of that game, man.
Yes, and then the cougar that comes out of nowhere and attacks them. Oh, my God.
Now, by cougar, are you talking a 4-legged animal, or are we talking a 40-year-old woman? What are we talking here?
A little bit of both.
But I do remember, like, in the first 5 minutes of the game, they give you the option to go to the strip club, and it's like, holy smokes.
Right.
This game's kind of badass, I think.
Yeah,
now, as we're, just talking about with Grand Theft Auto and how this game, I think one of the things we were both a little disappointed about with this game is that it was not going to be available on launch. That's coming out for the next system, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. A little bit disappointing, but with that being said, there's still going to be other games that are going to be out that we can enjoy at least, and for until Grand Theft Auto is available, whenever that may be. Now, I know you mentioned earlier, Chris, that you're a PlayStation 4 fan, and that's your
Yes,
system,
sir.
and you're pretty sold on it. And Adrian, I think you mentioned before you're more of an Xbox guy as far as what it offers and all the availability. Now, Chris, if for anyone kind of on the fence with this, what I don't want to say like in like a filibuster, like 2 minutes or less, but what's the selling point for the PlayStation 4 that the Xbox might not have that it draws you to it?
I would say one of the biggest selling point is that it has a lot of features for games. But people that's not all that. Let's say like we go on Grand Theft Auto, we were playing that. You got stuck on a certain area. In the PlayStation 4, they have a feature where you can actually hand over your controller via the internet and let someone like me take over and play that part for you and get you past it. That
Which would
feature
probably
alone.
happen more often than not if we were sharing. Okay.
That feature alone that sold me because there's so many times where I've got stuck on a certain part of a map or part of a game where I just can't beat it, and I end up going to YouTube to try to figure out how to beat it. But I can actually just go, hey, you played this part already. You already passed this. I see it in your trophy list. You got past this board. Can you help me out? Show me what to do. And just to be able to hand that off without having them next to you, anybody in the world that you're having on your friends list, that sold me. That was the coolest feature. I mean, it's the other features on that system that's amazing, and that one just sold me.
That is pretty sweet. That's pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest with you. I think that main feature as well is probably what draws me to the system. I mean, I'll admit I'm more of an Xbox fan, like my friend Adrian here, but I also saw what PlayStation's bringing to the table, and they're obviously, they've been around for a while. Now, Adrian, I know you love the Xbox, and I know we spoke about this before, and as far as what the Xbox offers, we're more like the entertainment values, the apps, and things like that. What about it for you definitely draws you to that system?
Well, unlike a lot of people, when they did that very first reveal and they showed practically no games, they came out and basically what they're pushing is this this box is going to be the center hub of your living room. You can use this video game system to have it as your central controlling unit of everything that goes on in your living room. And not only that, but it's also got that voice command. The Kinect is so advanced now. And I for one, I bought a Kinect when it came out. I have a daughter. We enjoy it. And I never really utilized the voice function of it. And within like the last couple of months, seeing like what the advancements that they're doing with the next Connect, I've been giving it a shot, and I'll tell you, it's fucking awesome, man. Like to be able to voice command your system and tell it like Xbox, HBO Go, it just pops right up. You know what I'm saying? Xbox, Game of Thrones, Episode 2, play. And it's right there. I'd be in the kitchen cooking or washing dishes or doing whatever, and I'm hollering in the living room from my Xbox, and I come back in and it's right there on the TV.
So that was like a big factor for you as far as what you enjoyed and what drew you to that system, correct?
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
Okay, yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, because I know talking with Chris in the past, and I think we all kind of cover as far as the personalities of gamers. I think Chris is more of a more dedicated hardcore gamer, loves his games. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. We all share that DNA in a way. Chris definitely loves his game, whereas Dre, loves the entertainment stuff, with his daughter and things like that. Not to say that the PlayStation doesn't have things of that nature, but Xbox, it seems, makes it a little more user-friendly. I mean, that's just my opinion in general, but Sony definitely brought it this time with the PlayStation 4.
Oh, yeah, they're coming with the games, man. They're definitely coming at it hard with the games, and the latest reports as far as the power of the systems. And I know there's been like discrepancies between PlayStation is 50 times faster or stronger than the Xbox. But we'll see when it comes to fruition, because if you remember, these companies are going to be making games for both systems. So you got Ubisoft that's going to make Watch Dogs for Xbox and PlayStation.
Very good point.
And they're not gonna say, hey, we need this team just to make this PlayStation version to take advantage of that. Instead of that, they got to save that time. So if the reports are true, which I really hope they're not, about like the PlayStation being that much stronger, it's going to hinder some of the, even though I'm not completely a PlayStation guy, it's going to hinder that processing because they're going to take that time out to make two different versions of this game. So they're going to have to fit it into both systems. So
Yep. Exactly.
hopefully with Microsoft, they're going to be able to go ahead and beef that up a little bit if the reports are true, because that's a big selling point for a lot of people. Like you say, there's a lot of hardcore gamers out there. I'm one of them, but that's something that Microsoft is really going to have to address if the reports are true. Report that was mentioning some things like that, where it's saying like if they're going to have it on both systems, the PlayStation is going to get the short end of the stick on this, since if the reports are true. So that is really could be fucked up for us as gamers, because with a next generation system, I want this game to be beautiful. Like, period.
Yeah.
There's no excuses as far as
you almost expect it.
Yeah, it's got to be beautiful, man. Like, and I want it all. Like, if you can do it, give me everything that you got, So I'm gonna spend $60 on this game. I want everything. I want that hard work. I want to see it. And yeah, like, it's just something we gotta
pretty
wait
much right now coming up with the new release of these systems, we're looking at almost 40 years of evolution in video games. I mean, we can go back to Pong, the first ever video game, and where it's come since then, making the jumps from the Atari to the Nintendo and the Nintendo to Sega Genesis and so on and so on. And here we are at the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and we expect, like you're saying, we expect almost the perfection. And for what they're asking for as price, we better get it.
Yeah. I'm spending $1,000 on this Xbox. It better be ready to go and get it on when they get it out that box, man. Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of ramen noodles in the future for people.
Oh my goodness!
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with some ramen noodles.
I know who does like ramen noodles, and those are college students. And speaking of college, now we're talking about the big news that came out the other day is the fact that we're not going to have another NCAA football game no more. I mean, this year, NCAA 14 is going to be it. Now, the reason why is pretty much that the NCAA is in a lawsuit against some former athletes. They're looking to collect money for using their likeness, and maybe deservedly so, but that could be for another place, another time. Now, I'm a little disappointed at the games. I never got the game every year, but at the same time, I enjoyed playing it. I always edit the rosters. I'm pretty sure you guys do too. So
yeah.
I mean, I think we're all big NCAA fans, and now with this being the last year, it's gonna be a little bittersweet, but it could be a collector's item too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was never huge into NCAA until Tomas told me to come home, just play it. You play Madden, you might just go ahead and like this one. And now that I'm into it, we into a whole season, and I've been really enjoying it. Go Virginia Tech. I'm kind of sad to see it go, but at the same time, I know why it's going, and I think that's the proper way to do it, because those NCAA players should have got something for it. That's another topic for another time.
We can almost do a whole other show just on that topic alone. And maybe we'll address that another time where we do have more time for that. But at the same time, yeah, it's going to be messy. I mean, I know we talked about getting Adrian on board too, and I know with this being the last game, now you're looking a little towards purchasing it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm playing on Xbox. You two guys, you got the PlayStation Dynasty going, so I'm gonna have to hop on there with it. But it's really sad for me that there's not gonna be another NCAA game. I'm like really, really sad, because I've been playing NCAA football since PlayStation, like the original gray PlayStation, where after you've had it for a year, you gotta flip it upside down and play your game, And since that time, like, I always go, hey, NCAA, then Madden. And I'll finish my season, import my draft classes into Madden. And that really gave me inspiration to go through another season in Madden, or through another season in NCAA, to get those guys that I built up and say, hey, I want to put them into this draft and see where they come out. But like you guys said, I know why it's happening. And like you said, you don't sell number 2 Texas A&M jersey if Johnny Manziel's not wearing that jersey. Flat out, like that, it doesn't happen. If you want to sell your jerseys and they're putting these kids' numbers on there, they're going off of recognition that this player wears this jersey, and they're going to sell a bunch of copies of the jersey. If you put that same Texas A&M jersey up, with 00 on it, how many people you think is going to buy that jersey? There's no semblance there. It's just a jersey. It's generic. But they're making money, billions of dollars off of these kids, and nobody's getting it back. Even EA to a fault. Like, you pop in NCAA football last year, and maybe last year or a year before. When was Denard on the cover? Was it
This was last year.
This year.
Okay. Denard's on the cover. You pop in NCAA from last year, and you go to Michigan, and you pull up the quarterback number 16 or whatever his number. He's got dreads. That's Denard Robinson. Like,
yeah, you're not hiding that very well.
Hiding that. You know, if make him a white guy or something, like, change him up. Like, but they're using his likeness, and nobody's getting paid for that. And that's what their selling point is for that game. Like, hey, these characters are in here, but they're not in here, and it's caught up to them finally, man. It took years and years of fighting, but
like you said, with years and years. As far as I remember playing Bill Walsh college football. Where they didn't even name the universities. It was Provo, Utah, Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Coral Gables, Florida, things like that, and halfback 42. Things like that. And then as the years went on, then you start seeing more universities involved. The NCAA stamped their logo on it. I mean, truthfully, I can't lay too much fault on EA's plate just because they went along with it. NCAA was more like, oh yeah, here, use these players' likeness, to make the video game, do whatever you want. EA is just trying to make a video game. They've been making video games before that. Hopefully they'll start making them again down the road, but because the way the game has evolved so much to where all the detail that's in it, anything less than that's going to be a total failure. And I respect them for not trying to put out an inferior product out there that would piss people off, quite frankly, where they're never going to play that game again, because they could just turn to Madden, And speaking of the NFL, I mean, now that the NFL season has started and we got a couple surprise teams out there. The Lions, surprisingly as well, are 2-1 at this point?
Yeah.
I believe. And, first place game tomorrow against the Bears. And what's the record of your Titans there, Chris?
2-1.
2-1 as well. Okay.
Yeah, that team is really surprising me because watching them in preseason, oh my God, I thought they was going to get blown out every single game.
And my Cowboys are also 2-1. Just to let you guys.
Yes. Well, I'm gonna. Well, I was to say with the Lions, but I also am a Miami Dolphins fan, and they are one of the few 3-0 teams. Thank you. So.
Not no more after Sunday.
Miami looks really good. Miami looks really good. I like Ryan Tannehill, man. I like him. He's
surprising me. He's really surprising me. I mean, when they picked him last year, I think it worked out best because his college coach is now his offensive coordinator with Miami, so there's that familiarity of knowing your coach. It certainly plays a big part in adjusting to the NFL. Now, if he had a different coaching system in place, who knows if he'd be as good? And I'm hoping we don't find out anytime soon.
Definitely.
The NFL is so tricky. You got to find the right combination of coach, quarterback. I mean, look at what Brady and Belichick are doing all these years. I mean, we might not be fans of them, even though Brady's a Michigan guy. I know Chris says boo to that, but
Sparty on.
Just because they've won all these years, pretty much, and the Yankees of the NFL.
Definitely the Yankees of the NFL. People love to hate them, man, but they're the symbol. They're the symbol of the NFL. Like I'm not a Patriots fan. Screw the Tuck rule, first of all. I'm glad it's gone. Never bring it back. Never bring it back. But you gotta, like you said, you gotta respect what Tom Brady and Bill Belichick have done over the years. Like, they've really, really built that Patriots organization into a dynasty. And don't get Robert Kraft either, because Robert Kraft is he's been fundamental in bringing in a lot of players and keeping them there as long as they could. Robert Kraft's a great owner. Like, he's one of those owners, like, you could look at him and say he's probably a jackass, but he's a good guy and he keeps his players in there. He takes care of his players. And as a team, as a unit, like, over the past, decade, like, they're just about unmatched as far as being competitive every year.
I was just going to say,
he was a huge fan of them. And I think a lot of, owners, you got some owners who are businessmen, some owners who are former players, some who are fans. I mean, there's a mode in Madden for that. When you start your connected career, you can decide what kind of owner you want to be. I think that's awesome to pick as far as like, I'm a fan who just loves the team, and you definitely see that with Robert Kraft and what he does for the team. Whereas other owners, I mean, you could even say like William Clay Ford for the Lions. I mean, he almost inherited this team. It was given to him. There was really no loyalty with it, no love to say. He might have looked at his business investment. I forget the owner's name for the Titans. Was it Bud Adams?
Bud Adams, yes.
Bud Adams. I mean, I know he's got a bad rep when they left Houston and they went to Tennessee. I was an Oilers fan growing up. I mean, that run and shoot offense with Warren Moon. I mean, that was great football watching back in the day. And when he moved up and moved him to Tennessee, a lot of people looked at it as a business move. I think if he was a fan, he wouldn't have stayed. He probably would have stayed, but that's just my opinion.
I agree. I think that if he was a fan and it wasn't just all about business with him, I mean, he's still getting heat over Vince Young and how he let Jeff Fisher, one of the brightest coaches in the NFL history, Jeff Fisher. I don't understand how you let him go.
How do you let Jeff Fisher go?
you let Vince Young come in between you and Jeff Fisher, who's proven that he can win with that team. He's taken that team to the Super Bowl. That team's been playoff bound many years, and you let Vince Young just because you loved him in college?
Yeah,
that makes no sense.
I was never, but me personally, I was never sold on Vince Young being a great quarterback. I wasn't sold in college. I wasn't sold when he got drafted into the NFL. I always knew he was a pretty good football player. But playing quarterback in the NFL, I never saw Vince Young being successful at being a quarterback in the NFL. I never saw it out of him. I don't know if it was I didn't like his mechanics. I didn't like his pocket presence.
His sidearm throw.
The sidearm throw. I mean, like you're going to draft a guy that you have to bring into your team and teach him how to throw an NFL ball. That doesn't spell victories right there. That doesn't equal a first round draft pick to me. I just was never sold on the guy, man. Never. And then to have him run one of the best coaches in the NFL out of town was ridiculous.
I think what it was, he was just such a good athlete in college, and in college you can get away with that. I mean, if you can run with the ball and throw a little bit, you look at Denard Robinson, he was lightning out there, but he could barely throw a football, but he threw it just good enough.
Yep.
Even though I'm a Michigan fan, but in college you can get away with athletes like that. In the pros, that's like a college all-star game every week, and you're not running.
You see where he's at now. You see where he's at now with the Jaguars. He's running out of the backfield. They have him spread out and four wides. They know that he's not going to be a quarterback with them. He knows he's not going to be a quarterback with them. I think Tebow should figure out he's not going to be a quarterback anywhere and go ahead and be a tight end or something.
Unfortunately, he had his run, I think, at quarterback, and I admire his dedication, his perseverance as far as wanting to continue that, but he's got to make some sacrifices whether he wants to be in the NFL or be a quarterback. If he wants to be a quarterback, that's fine. Or, the CFLs in Canada, good luck, buddy.
Arena League, man.
Hey, there you go.
If you want to play in the NFL, you're going to have to play a different position.
Tebow could probably go to Arena League and be a superstar in the Arena League. Hey, man, you ain't got to throw it but 50 yards. I mean, come on.
There's one sport I know he's not playing, and hopefully so far, that's Major League Baseball. And now that the playoffs are almost upon us, Tigers yesterday lost out on the chance for home field advantage in the first round, and they'll be opening on the road this Friday, either against Oakland or Boston. Hopefully we'll know that by later on tonight, but it kind of looks like a slipped opportunity, but the fact you're in the playoffs. I mean, I personally don't think first home field advantage in the first round makes a big difference when it comes to baseball playoffs, but that's just my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'm with it either way.
Yeah, either way. I mean, we've shown we can go into Oakland, New York, Boston, these other teams and win games. I mean, how many times have we knocked the Yankees out in the last how many years in the playoffs? We have their number, as well as Oakland. We have Oakland's number. I, for one, like you said, either way, home field advantage, no home field advantage. I got a lot of confidence in this team. They didn't end the season as well as we would like them to. We would like them to go ahead and strong and punch people out at the end of the season, but they did just enough. And we got another Central. That's 3 straight, so that's always exciting. And
exactly,
we'll see where it goes from here. But I'm sticking with my prediction: Tigers in 6. So
okay, you heard it here
first.
It's
looking pretty good.
Chris, you want to go on record at all? See how far the Tigers get?
I'm saying World Series with them.
They'll take it all, or
I'm thinking they're gonna take it all because it's about time. Miggy's hitting like crazy. I think even though he was hurt, he's coming back. He's starting to get back in his form, and I can't wait to see what they do. I mean, it's so much on that team that can. They're built to win now. They're built to win now. I could not see them not making it back to the Super Bowl. Not Super Bowl. What the hell am I saying?
That'd be nice. One of those would be
At
nice
least we
around
have
here
one
too. I'm
Detroit
just
team in
saying.
the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, the optimism for the Tigers right now is at an all-time high around here in Detroit. I know for me growing up, I was always a big baseball fan. Grew up, 5 minutes from Tiger Stadium. You could see the lights off in the distance, and it was just one of those things growing up. While we're a great sports town, Detroit, for me personally, I feel like baseball is somehow a little deeper in Detroit for a lot of fans. And the team they put together now lately, the past few years, going to playoffs, losing the World Series last year, we're winning. And I think just to be so close, getting swept last year was a tough pill to swallow, very
Yeah.
tough. And
Yeah.
now this year now that they're in the playoffs, anything can happen. Hopefully they can get hot and stay hot. I hope there's no long breaks in between rounds, just like between the World Series last year, because that would just kill us. But I think it's the World Series or bust, because ultimately in the next couple of years, this team's going to get broken up just because of the payroll. There's no way you can afford this payroll at this rate. The payroll is close to 180 million, I believe, if not more. You got three players making 20 million a year. It's just not feasible with these economics, and it's not my money to spend. But if I'm in that position, then I don't know if I want to be spending that much money on players either. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a little tough.
What do you guys think about Verlander? Do you think this is a sign? You think it's a decline coming, or you think it's just an off year for a great pitcher?
I think it's Cake Upton. That's what I think.
I'm more led to believe it's more of an off year, and
Yeah.
I think you can look at a lot of players throughout the history of Major League Baseball, and not every player's been consistent, and it's bound to happen to the best of players. He just turned 30 this year. Not to say that's old by any stretch of the imagination, but still, when you've been a Major League athlete for such a long time, turning 30 is almost like hitting the back nine of your career in a way. He still has plenty of years left, not to make that as excuse, but you're going to have up and down years. He's not going to be 24-5 every year. That's just not possible.
You're
I
asking
think
for a little
he'll
bit
bounce
much.
back next year. I think hopefully he'll bounce back in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I think.
Hopefully he bounces back. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Cake Upton need to give him some. I don't know what the hell happened. She needs to get back in his life.
Well, it's tough to say why it was that he's pitching this way this year. I mean, for him pitching this bad, you got Scherzer, who's should win the Cy Young, quite frankly.
Yeah,
23 right
he's
now.
Without a doubt.
pitching lights out. It's just craziness how well he's doing.
And the debate right now is that who's going to be your number one starter come the playoffs? Is it Verlander, who's a tried and tested veteran, who's won you the MVP, Cy Young before, not the best year this year, or do you go with the hot hand where he's 21-3, almost leading the league in strikeouts? He's just playing lights out this year. It's a nice problem to have, but which way do you lean, Drake?
I'd run Verlander out there, man.
Okay.
I would definitely run Verlander out there, and because you got that hot hand coming in the second game, and even though it's like win now, you want to go ahead and send Verlander out there to show him like, you know what, we still got faith in this guy. He's our ace. We're gonna put him out there against you guys, and he's gonna burn you up flat out. And then you got to deal with Max second. So I would definitely stay with Verlander and send him on out there in game one. Let him go out there, show that you're not caving in to the pressure. Everybody wants to start Max, even though it's not a bad thing. Max pitched his ass off this season, but
Exactly.
I'm going to stick with my ace. I'm going to send him out there, and you're going to have to deal with him. And if he gets knocked around a little bit, I'll pull him. But he's coming out there in game one. If I'm Jim Leland, I'm putting my foot down in the sand, and I'm saying, hey, Verlander's coming out for you for game one. So.
I agree 100%. I think Verlander should definitely keep him because I think putting him out there in the first game is going to give him that confidence that he deserves, and that he needs to get him out of this whatever slump he's got going on, and it's definitely going to make any other team that we go up against like, wow, they're not playing. They still got Schwarzers left, and yeah, we're definitely keep Verlander going.
Now, I guess I'll be the dissenting vote in a way because, I mean, I definitely, the views that you guys present, I totally agree with as well. But I think, me personally, if it was my decision, I would probably run Max out there for game one just for the simple fact that from what I've seen before, through baseball throughout all these years, is that when you're hot for a season, you're just hot for a season. And it's no disrespect to Justin Verlander as far as starting game one, but sometimes you have these pitchers that just from April to October, it's just magic. And sometimes it can't be replicated. I know growing up, I think it was '88 with Oral Hershiser. That year he had this shutout streak of 59 innings. It's almost 7 straight games, and going through the World Series and winning the MVP, or not the MVP, but just carrying his team to the World Series. The following year, nowhere close to what he did the year before. But sometimes it's just that magic that just happens over a season. And sometimes I feel you just have to ride it out, just like a hot hand in poker or any table game. You just have to ride it out. And for me personally, I would go max for game one, but that's just how I feel. Now we have another topic that we're going to segue to, and that was for basketball fans. We had in the news recently where Dwayne Wade and Kevin Durant kind of traded barbs a little bit. Whether it was deservedly so, who knows? I'm not too much in on it as some other fans, but it seems a little petty to me in a way. Now, Chris, I know you're a big fan. How do you feel about this as far as what they're doing back and forth?
I like it. I like when they take shots at each other because it makes the season better. To me, to have the stuff that Carmelo and Kevin Garnett went back and forth calling his wife Cheerios or whatever it was. That shit was gold to me. That made you play hard. That made you root for them even harder because Kevin Garnett's an asshole. Everyone knows this. Much as the respect his game, he's a vet. He can get you points even now that he's old as dirt. Respect his game, and his mouth is what always leads to other players getting frustrated out of their zone. And
modern day Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, there you go. And I love when they talk shit like that. You look forward to it. That's like since I'm an Indiana Pacers fan, I'm going to go ahead and go this route. That's like Reggie Miller and Spike Lee. That's
classic.
That's classic.
Stuff,
you look
maybe a little different, only because both these players could actually get on the court.
That's true, but he was.
Your point is well taken, though.
I mean, Spike Lee was basically on the goddamn court half the time when
he was right there.
He's on the sideline, so it was always him, always running on the court talking shit to Reggie Miller in between. So I mean, I loved it. I think stuff like this. I mean, it shouldn't be brought out to the media like this. It was on Twitter, so I mean, keep it on Twitter.
You think it got twisted in a way? I mean, because it's one man's opinion, pretty much what it boils down to.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I agree with Durant said, I guess, because Wade had tweeted back saying something because he won a championship, some shit like that. I can't remember actually what the tweet was. And Kevin Durant basically said, "Don't tweet me, show me." And I agree with that. Don't tweet back. Don't be one of these rappers out here with all this Twitter beef like Kanye West.
Yeah.
Internet cowboys.
Show it on the court, and I can't wait. And I think they play Christmas, and I think around Christmas. I want to say it's Christmas. I can't wait for that day. I can't wait for them to play. I can't wait to see Westbrook back and Durant going crazy on the sorrowful Heat. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm with it. I can deal with it. I like the beef. It like you said, it creates a little bit more drama than what there already is on the court. Because unlike this is one of those sports where when I'm on offense, you got to check me, and when I'm on deep, when I got to run right back down the court and play defense as well. So it's personal. It's like you don't substitute an offensive guy for a defensive guy.
Right.
You're on both sides of the court. So you're always going to see this guy back and forth, up and down the court. So I'm looking forward to it. I like it. And I will say I agree. I'm a Miami Heat fan, but I'm also a realist. Right now, James Harden is better. But if we're taking both of these players in their prime, Dwayne Wade was a much better player than James Harden. James Harden's a good player, but I don't think that James Harden could have led if you swap them in their prime. Put James Harden on that Miami team I don't think that he could have did what Dwayne Wade did. Dwayne Wade was an explosive player, man. He was like reckless abandon going to the rim. He was one of those guys where I'm going to the cup and I'm going to score. He never was the best jump shot shooter. His jumper was serviceable at best. But when he got on, when he was ready to go, nobody could stop him. And living in Detroit, we three know that when Dwayne Wade came to town, it was showtime. You know what I'm saying? When we had to deal with them in the playoffs those years,
he puts his body on the line. I mean,
yeah.
A lot of people say, they'll say football's a pretty hard sport on people and, with all the tackling and whatnot. But, hit for hit, basketball players, I think, maybe not the same amount of punishment, but when you hit that floor, there's no give to that hardwood.
No give, man.
Depending on whether it's flopping or not.
Oh, yeah. And it adds up over the years. I mean, you see, that's another thing, too, with all the players and, say, oh, I got hit, oh, he scratched me, oh, he breathed on me, they cry about it. So, yeah,
LeBron James. Oh, sorry.
But you see a player like Dwayne Wade who crashes the net all the time and, he ends up crashing to the floor right afterwards and
LeBron James, I'm sorry.
Up to you after a few years. And
you don't touch the king, all right? You don't put hands on the king.
I think it's safe to say that it's going to be must-watch TV pretty much, these games.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not a big Kobe fan, but I want to see him this year, man. Like, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing Kobe get out there on the court and come back from this. I want to see him. I for one, I'll go ahead and say it. I'm a Kobe hater. I don't like him because, and it's really Kobe fans' fault because they put him into this aura with Michael Jordan, which we definitely gonna have to get into this discussion, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan one day, but. Oh, yeah. The way I feel, don't put him in that class with Mike. Kobe's great. He's probably the second greatest shooting guard of all time. But that's just saying second greatest shooting guard of all time. You're talking about all-time greatest players. He's there. He is an all-time great. But don't put him in that class with Mike just yet. Don't put him up there. And for one, I want to see him come back. I want to see him play this year. I can't wait to see. That first game, I want to see how he comes, if he's available for that first game. They're saying he's ahead of schedule. Maybe he drunk some of that Adrian Peterson water, and he's going to come back, and explode. But I'm looking forward to that, man. This season in general, because I want the 3-peat, and it's looking good.
Yeah, I mean,
now, if the Pacers got anything to say about it.
I get what you're saying as far as wanting to see him, because I think, him having that ruptured Achilles and to see him bounce back at that age too, I think it's going to be fascinating to see what he can do. And it seems like modern medicine has just gotten better and better over the years. And, I remember when Terrell Owens broke his leg during the playoffs and somehow was back for the Super Bowl. And, at that, I'm like, wow, that's pretty amazing back then. And we're talking almost 10 years. Exactly. We're talking almost 10 years later. And to see what Kobe can do now, I would be intrigued to see what he can do now. Now, kind of change topics on you guys a little bit. This past week, we had our premieres of TV shows. There's a season premiere for a lot of our favorite shows, such as Big Bang, How I Met Your Mother, things like that. But there's also a couple new shows that are on the horizon. Sleepy Hollow, and another show that seemed to garner your guys' interest was Marvel Agent S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, did any of you guys were able to catch that episode?
Oh, yeah, I loved it.
Oh, definitely.
I like where they're going just off the first episode. I mean, they really didn't give too much. I think that Dre will agree with me. They already said they're not going to do any supers. They're not going to have any there, which is all right. But I like the fact that the whole show, what they're doing is giving the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. their shine, and rightfully so. It's that whole series needs to be explored to me because I don't think they're explored enough in the comic books. Because they only do Nick Fury.
Now, as someone who doesn't watch the show or as follows comics, do you think they did a good job of maybe laying out the story of some of the characters that for someone tunes into the first episode, they'll know who these people are?
Actually, definitely. Because, like you said, for some people that haven't watched the show, if you don't watch the show but you've seen some of the movies and you kept up, you kind of know who Phil is, and he's the main guy. He's the antagonist of the
Coulson.
show. Phil Coulson. And if you know him, he's the guy that's bringing in all of these guys, and they don't ignore the movies are out there or the characters are out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's one universe, they're using all of those guys. And even in this episode, I forget what it was, but they were trying to create the super soldier serum in the Scorpion or Centipede on the arm and things of that nature. So it's really good. Like you kind of would have to know a little bit about at least the movies that have been made. You don't have to be a big comic book guy to get into Agents of Shield, and I think that's why they're not gonna rely on the movies too much because they want it to be a show where you can say, hey, I like this Marvel Agents of Shield, and I'm really not a comic book guy, but this show is really good. You know, I might know the basics, or I've seen the movies, or the movies are out there to go watch, you know, and then you can say, come back to the show and say, hey, you know, all right, I get a better understanding of who Phil Coulson is and what happened in New York. Because if you just watch the beginning of the show, you don't know anything about what happened in New York. So you're like, why do they keep mentioning New York? You know, hey, go check the Avengers out and you can catch up with it, you know. So
Yeah.
they did a pretty good job. It was a good premiere, and I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah,
Like,
same here. I'm
yeah.
really wanting to see where they're going to take it. Explore all these new Shield agents, and are they going to have any of them translate into the movies? Probably not. I think they're going to probably keep them in two separate worlds, but in the same world.
Yep.
But yeah, I definitely can't wait to see where they take the series.
Yeah, I mean, I think for someone who doesn't follow comics and was kind of unfamiliar with that world, when you see the name of the show, you're thinking, okay, this is just another like series on comics. Maybe Heroes in a sense or a little something different. But I'm glad the fact that they kind of lay out the story for you and kind of give you a little background, and it's not so much where only hardcore fans will be able to follow the show. Say, okay, I know this person. Whereas a casual fan be like, who the hell is this person? I have no clue who this guy is. Now, I don't know if there's another show I heard that was supposed to be pretty good. It was called Sleepy Hollow, and I haven't checked it out personally. I don't know if any of you have or not.
Oh, I'm following that show to the letter. I love it. I love what they're doing. I thought at the beginning of the first episode it was kind of rushed because they kind of just went through everything really quick. They really didn't set up too much. This is what happened. Here's what happened. Here's what happened. Here's what happened. Boom! Now we're back in modern day area.
Definitely. Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow's gonna be really good. Like I hope it's able to last. I hope they have some stuff up their sleeve for us. But like I was always a big, Sleepy Hollow, Headless Horseman, Archibald Crane type of, I like that story. It was one of my favorite stories as a kid, like reading any of those books. And whenever there was a rendition that came out, I loved reading those books. And, it's good to see that they're actually bringing it into this modern world, giving it this modern feel. And that kind of had threw me off a little bit when they first announced it. I'm like, Sleepy Hollow, like there's only so much you're going to be able to tell about the Headless Horseman. And, it's like the Headless Horseman versus Archibald Crane. Like, is that what the show is going to be? But there's so much more. They opened it up a little bit more, and you got these demons, the four, what are they called? The four horsemen.
The four horsemen, yeah, the apocalypse.
Yeah, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And they're bringing all of that into the story and incorporate it into the modern world. So it's sweet. And the Headless Horseman looks badass. So that's a big plus. So
the freaking devil that walks around and appears out of nowhere. And
creepy.
That's pretty, yeah. I mean, it's really creepy. I really love what they're doing. And last week they premiered one of the demons, and it was really good. Some of the stuff you can say, okay, it's a little cheesy because I don't know how the Headless Horseman knew how to fire a shotgun from the first one. He just instantly knew what a shotgun was and was like, oh, I can kill people with this. And
it's a weapon.
Yeah. I like how they're like when they show Ichabod, he's learning on the go. Like he last episode he had donuts for the first time and was like,
right.
Oh my god, what the hell is this? This is the best thing in the world. Then he's seeing the taxes on it and was like, what the fuck,
So you say that's definitely a show you're going to be watching for a while then, huh?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be following it. Right. It kind of reminds me of what's the show that got canceled? Terra Nova, because that show was pretty good to me. I thought the one with Steven Spielberg there with the dinosaurs and them going back in time to save the Earth. I thought that show was pretty good. It was really decent. It had a large following too. It got a little crazy towards the end with all the dinosaurs and them all swapping back and forth through time and stuff like that. But to me, it feels it's on that same road, but hopefully it won't get canceled.
Well, I guess only time will tell. We'll see how this first season. I mean, it sounds like it's a great show, to be honest with you. I might have to even check it out myself. And I know with my TV shows, I've the most ones I watch mostly, like How I Met Your Mother, Big Bang Theory. Some of those shows. The League is another one that somehow I can't get enough of, and I think that's a great show personally. And thank God for Netflix too, when you can go back and catch up on some of these older
Oh
episodes.
man,
Yes.
thank God for
It's
Netflix.
a
Yeah, how did we live before we could DVR
I
and
have
watch
no
shit?
idea.
Go back and watch shows. How did this
I
work?
have no
Like,
idea. I would
where did
recommend
we find
Netflix
the
for
time in
everyone
the
if I
day?
could.
It was
Back a couple years ago, where did we find the time to say, hey, I'm about to play this video game, spend time with my significant other, spend time with my kids, and watch these 4 TV shows in one day after I get off of work?
Right. And
So,
then go do laundry and cook dinner and
yeah, man, where did we have the time, man? It's amazing. I
VCRs
love
was
We
a
just
VCR.
find
wonder.
we just find it. We find that time.
Definitely, definitely.
Well, it seems like we are kind of coming up to the end of the show. I know we're good. We talked about doing a little segment at the end, what we recommend something, or what we call a retro video game. Something from the past is, since we've all been video game fans growing up, and like I said, from the Atari to Nintendos all the way through. Just throw a game out there that you could play, whether if you have an old Nintendo system, maybe some games off the Wii, off the old Xbox or something. I know for me personally, the game I want to throw out there is RC Pro-Am off the old Nintendo. That little race car game with the radio control cars. I thought that game
Definitely.
was
RC Pro Am was great.
fantastic. I would play
RC
that
Pro
game
Am.
for hours on end. And I don't. What's your favorite game, Dre?
Well, you know what? If we're going back to old Nintendo, let's go back to NES. I would definitely have to say I remember the day my mother bought me Double Dragon 2. That classic fighting action from the arcade, man. How many quarters did I spend at the skating rink playing Double Dragon 2? I used to love that game, man. And when I got it on Nintendo, it was like I almost burnt out my system playing that game. Like I didn't want to go outside. I had basketball rim in the backyard. It was fucking rusting out there because I was spending so many hours just playing Double Dragon 2. It was classic. I love it. And the music, man, that 8-bit music is still stuck in my head like to this day. I love it, man. I love it. What about you, Chris?
I'm follow off you with the whole Double Dragon, but I'm gonna throw one. I'm gonna add another group to it, and I'm gonna go with the Battletoads, Double Dragon versus Battletoads. One of my all-time favorite childhood games.
Yes,
Oh
sir.
my God, I can't tell you how many times I had to blow into the cartridge to get the shit to work to play. I
Like, to
love
find
that
out
game.
years later that blowing into the cartridge had no effect on making the game work at
Right.
It was
all.
one of
Like,
those wives' tales that you would hear through friends. If you go into the game, it'll get it to work. And like you said, it never did. It never was founded to be true, but we all thought it was.
a little bit
Right.
of hope. It gave you that hope. Like, hey, man, blow it from the side like this. Like, use a little alcohol, rub it, like, use the alcohol cleaner on your cartridge and clean it off and stick it in that system and get it to go.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh
that's
yeah.
classic stuff, man. Classic
Yeah.
stuff.
And putting it in the freezer was another one I
Oh,
learned.
geez.
Put it in
Yep.
the freezer for 15 minutes and see if it works.
Cool as
Well, on
circuit
that note,
sauce.
I think that we'll end up concluding our first ever podcast. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us, Dre Robinson and Chris Jordan.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
know about you, I had a blast doing this, and I hope there's
Oh
more
man,
in
I
the
love it.
future.
I love it. I love working with you guys, man. Like talking, even though like setting this up was a blast. Like that, it was so epic. Like coming together because there's nothing like talking to people and saying something and know that they understand and they're a part of that same world with you. Like it
Yes.
was just so amazing how this came together and worked out, and I enjoyed it like to the fullest. I can't wait to do the next one. Like, can we do it right now? Like, go ahead and do it.
Maybe after dinner, we'll see.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I got a kid's birthday party to go to and a new dog upstairs that I got to take
See,
care
where
of.
do you find the time? Exactly.
Make it.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Tilo313.
Yep, I'm Dre Robinson, Mr. Showtime, the MVP on Xbox Live.
I'm Chris Jordan, Cable 2KX, PlayStation
And we'll
3.
see you next time.
Later.